Look, forget literally everything you've been taught about being a good person in the business world. That idealism you cling to, the belief that fairness, honesty, and generosity are always going to be rewarded, well, that might be the exact reason you're constantly being outmaneuvered. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to strip away the pleasant lies of corporate idealism and explore Niccolo Machiavelli's most controversial and frankly ruthless principles. We are diving deep into the darkest sections of The Prince, specifically chapters 15 through 19, to unpack the psychology of the predator. We're going to tear down your moral conditioning and show you exactly how to manufacture a reputation, weaponize fear, and manipulate the truth to bulletproof your position. To do that, we've broken today's explainer down into 5 distinct modules: the illusion of virtue, the curse of generosity, the mechanics of fear, the fox and the lion, and finally, an execution checklist. Let's jump right in. Module 1, the illusion of virtue. We're looking at why you need to abandon this desire to be universally good. Right off the bat, Machiavelli draws a pretty ruthless line in the sand. He argues that if you obsess over what is morally right while everyone else around you is playing dirty, you're not a saint, you're just a victim. If you try to act completely virtuous in a world full of people who, let's face it, are not, you're inevitably going to be destroyed by them. Picture this in a modern corporate scenario. You're running a company during a brutal economic recession. You want to show compassion, right? So you refuse to lay off underperforming staff. But by clinging to that illusion of compassion, you end up bankrupting the entire company, and literally everyone loses their jobs. What looked like a virtue, in this case compassion, actually brings total catastrophic ruin. So this brings us to a really foundational concept, the necessary wrong. A leader has to learn how to do wrong and know exactly when to deploy it to save their state, or, their company or career. What looks like a vice, like making those ruthless, painful cuts, is actually the very thing that brings long-term security. You can't be afraid of the backlash from these necessary vices if they're the only things keeping your ship afloat. All right, moving on to Module 2, the curse of generosity. Let's talk about why buying loyalty actually backfires. We're constantly told that generosity earns true loyalty, right? Well, Machiavelli completely flips the script on the concept of meanness or frugality. He views being thrifty not as a character flaw, but as the absolute ultimate form of protection. Think about it. It is incredibly dangerous to have a reputation for being universally generous. To keep that illusion going, you have to constantly spend money, and eventually, you just run out. Think about your typical modern startup trap. You've got this forced generosity, limitless perks, free lunches, massive bonuses, just to look cool. But when the cash inevitably burns out, they have to claw all those benefits back, enforce brutal quotas, and demand grueling unpaid overtime. This makes leadership odious to their team. It literally leads to sheer hatred. On the flip side, we have meanness. A frugal leader might face the mild complaining initially, but eventually they prove they can defend the company without excessively burdening the employees. Frugality might bring some reproach, sure, but forced generosity brings reproach and deep-seated hatred. Which brings us to Module 3, the mechanics of fear, and the absolute stark reality of human bonds. So here's the ultimate question. Do you want to be loved, or do you want to be feared? Machiavelli acknowledges it's nice to be both, obviously. But when push comes to shove and you can only choose one, he argues with brutal clarity that it is much, much safer to be feared. And why is that? Well, his view of human nature is, frankly, unvarnished. He sees people as inherently fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous. Because of these underlying flaws, people will shatter a bond of loyalty the very second it becomes profitable for them to do so. When you break it down, love is really just preserved by a fragile link of obligation. If your employees or partners only follow you because they like you, they're going to abandon you the second they get a 10% pay raise across the street. But fear? Fear is preserved by a dread of punishment that never fails. If they respect your absolute authority and know there are severe, unbending consequences for betrayal, they will stay in line. But, and this is a massive but, there is a hard boundary here. You must inspire fear, absolutely, but you have to avoid hatred. How? You keep your hands off their property and their families. Machiavelli famously pointed out that men will forget the death of their father faster than the loss of their inheritance. You can discipline people, you can fire them, but you must never steal from them or humiliate their honor. Let's pivot to Module 4, the fox and the lion. This is all about mastering deception and force. Listen to this rule. A wise lord cannot, nor ought he to, keep faith when such observance may be turned against him. If an agreement, a partnership, or a contract is actively destroying you, and the original reasons you signed it don't even exist anymore, you have to pivot. Sticking blindly to an agreement that's killing you isn't honorable. It's just foolish. To survive, you've got to master two totally different natures, the man and the beast. You need the intellect of the fox, representing the human element of law and strategy, to discover the snares and hidden traps set by your rivals. And you need the brute force of the lion to terrify the wolves. People who only act like lions, relying on sheer force without any cunning, don't really understand the game and will eventually walk right into a trap. Basically, you have to be an absolute master of optics, a great pretender. In negotiations or politics, you must appear merciful, faithful, humane, upright, and religious, because humans generally judge more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be, but very few truly know what you are behind closed doors. Master the optics of virtue for sure, but always retain the tactical flexibility to be utterly ruthless when necessity demands it. Finally, Module 5, the execution checklist. Let's translate all this 16th century philosophy into actual modern practice. Here is a quick 3-step execution checklist to apply these harsh realities directly to your own career. Step 1. Stop trying to buy loyalty. Audit your budget and your emotional bandwidth right now. You have to stop over-giving just to be liked by your team. Establish a solid baseline of frugal, calculated fairness. Let them call you stingy today. They're going to thank you later when your calculated frugality ensures the business actually survives the winter. Step 2 is how you build true authority. Establish the dread of punishment. Remember, if there are 0 consequences for crossing you, you simply have 0 power. You have to set rigid boundaries, and if a boundary is crossed, you execute the penalty coldly and immediately. Don't yell, don't get emotional, and definitely don't emotionally abuse your staff. Just calmly, clinically enforce the penalty. And finally, step 3, audit your optics. What do people actually see when they look at you? Guard your outward reputation fiercely. Always present an image of stability, reliability, and virtue. But, and this is the absolute core of everything we've talked about, never let that polished image trap you into making a fatal, self-sacrificing decision. So, looking at your own leadership style, the decisions you make every single day, you really have to ask yourself a tough question. Are you prepared to abandon the warm, fuzzy comfort of being seen as good to ensure you and your organization are truly secure? Or will your absolute insistence on virtue ultimately be your ruin? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll leave you to chew on that.